Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. We're going to be breaking down our Tennessee-Georgia matchup we have coming up this weekend. It's going to be the game of the weekend for Week 12 of the 2024 college football season. We are going to completely break down the matchup, break down the rosters, and try to predict the outcome for the game. Who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what the final score will be. We'll also take a look at the betting portion, the money lines, the spreads, and the over-unders for this game as well. And make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Every week, we go over every single college football game. We also do the same thing for every NFL game as well. If you are a football fan, if you are a sports fan, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you can follow along with us. So we have a very, very important SEC matchup coming up. We have Georgia just coming off of their second loss of the season. They don't want to drop a third one. A third loss could potentially take you out of the running for the 12-team playoffs. For Tennessee, everything is still in front of them. Another loss would only be their second loss, but this loss could take them out of running for the SEC championship. Whoever wins the SEC championship obviously gets the bye week first round of the playoffs. This game's going to be on ABC at 7:30. Georgia is the favorite, 61.7% chance to win this game. They are 9.5-point favorites. That's a pretty big spread for an in-conference matchup here. The over-under is 48 points. This is a game that could go either way. Now, me making this video, this is prior to the new college football playoff poll coming out. Obviously, Tennessee's 7 here, Georgia's 3. They're not going to be 3 once the poll comes out. They're probably going to be, probably from 10 to 12 or 10 to 13, somewhere in that range. Or you could see how a third loss is probably going to drop you down to 17 to 20. That could theoretically, probably will take you out of running for the playoff. Georgia, a team that some people pick to win the national championship. Right now, they're on the ropes. How do they respond? Can Kirby Smart get everyone to rally together, round the wagons up, get everyone back on track? Tennessee, Nico still continues to play bad in the big moments since they've gotten into SEC play. They were averaging 50 points a game. Once they got into conference play, that's come way down. Whenever he gets pressured, whenever he's feeling the heat, starts to throw the ball high, starts to throw the ball low. He's a lot less accurate, starts to panic back there in the pocket. Thankfully for Tennessee, they have Josh Heupel, one of the best offensive minds in all of college football. They have a loaded offensive roster, but they also have a really good defense, a top 10 defense that are on the road here. But when you have a defense travels on the road. The defense will for sure show up. They're top 10 in quarterback pressures. They're top 10 in sacks right now. They're going to get after it. Carson Beck has showed he's not having a good season by any means. What does he have? 10, 11 interceptions the last 3 or 4 SEC games so far this season. He's having a horrible season. The big issue for the Georgia Bulldogs is their run game is non-existent. Georgia used to be known for their offensive line getting massive push. Their run game, their defense. Their offensive line is not dominated like it's done in previous seasons, and they've become a pass-happy team, which has led to a lot of turnovers. They're not establishing the run game at the point of attack, at the line of scrimmage, and the defense is having a good season, but this is statistically probably the worst defense we've seen under Kirby Smart since he's been at Georgia. Right now, Tennessee, obviously, they're led by Nico. He's closing in on 1,900 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4 picks. Carson Beck closing in on 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, 12 picks. The guy had 3 or 4 fumbles this past weekend. Really sloppy turnover margins. Tennessee, as a team, they're averaging 37.6 points a game. They're throwing for 245.2. They're running for 235.1. A very balanced offense, averaging just under 500 yards of offense every game. But not necessarily moving it as they were in conference play. But yet, the offense the last 2 weeks, I would say it started to show a little life. They are starting to run the ball on these SEC opponents, so they are playing better, slowly working their way up, but we need to see more from Nico. This is obviously going to be the massive stage here. They're only giving up 12.6 points a game. That is an elite level of defensive play. And a lot of that is in conference play too. Their defense has not changed since they went from non-conference to conference play. Continues to play at a high level. At least Josh Heupel knows that he can rely on that defense, keeping them in the game. Keeping this game within striking distance, because they're going to try to keep it within a one possession, and that's where the offense could potentially get a turnover, get the short field score. They're giving up 188.4 passing yards a game, and they're giving up 100 rushing yards per game. That does not bode well for Georgia, who has difficulties running the ball anyways, versus one of the best rush defenses in the nation. Georgia, they're averaging 30.6, throwing for 298.3, running for 123.9. I'd say that number used to be up about 180 to 200, a rushing yards way down the season. Their defense giving up 18.4. They have a top 30 defense, but Georgia usually has a top 10 defense. It's not bad, but it's definitely not great. And right now they're giving up 214.8 passing yards a game, 111 rushing yards per game. Looking at the playmakers here, you obviously have Nico. Sampson's closing in on 1,200 yards on the ground. Tennessee, Josh Heupel, an air raid disciple. They run kind of an upgraded air raid. They have air raid principles, but they are definitely not afraid to line up and run the ball right down your throat. Sampson closing in on that 1,200 yards. He has 20 touchdowns already. And they have Thornton Jr., Squirrel White, multiple playmakers. They have the better batch of playmakers over Georgia. Georgia has the number 2 overall roster. Tennessee doesn't care. They have the better playmakers. For Georgia, they have Beck. They have Etienne. Their leading rusher only has 475 yards. Yes, they have a running by committee right now, but they don't have that 1,000-yard back. That's what's limiting the rushing game, is they don't have a primary guy who they can rely on to get those first downs, and they have Smith at the receiver position. As of right now, Georgia's a pretty heavy favorite here. But I'm not going to lie. I have to go with Tennessee and that defense coming to town, dominating. I've seen a more consistent play from Tennessee. Georgia has wins Clemson. They have wins versus Texas. They play up or down to their level of competition. Whenever they play a great team, a great Georgia shows up. Whenever they play a bad team, a not very consistent Georgia shows up. They haven't been consistent. Tennessee at least has been consistent on both sides of the ball. The offense has struggled, but they get turnovers. They can score. Defense has played great no matter who they're playing. They have big wins as well. I see a more consistent Volunteers team. So I'm going to go with Tennessee actually getting the win here. I'm calling the upset as of right now. I have Tennessee taking this one 24-21, so I'm going with the plus 9.5, and I'm going with the under. This game could be a very low-scoring game. Which defense is going to win in the trenches? That's the big question. But anyways, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments about this game or anything else, please drop it below, and I will respond. Thank you.